Hi, Emma.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
I am so grateful you've agreed to do this. I'm really looking forward to it. But for everybody watching, please introduce yourself and who are you and what do you do?
My name's Emma Davey and I'm an MBACP trauma-informed counsellor and specialist in domestic abuse and coercive control.
Fantastic. I wanted to ask, I suppose, straight away, what was it in your life that has led you to be this person?
In 2015, I met what I think sociopath, which love bombed me. He was 26 years older than me. I wasn't attracted to older men. It just happened. I was at a gym and this very charming, very big person in the community started to say hello to me, and now I know picked me as his next victim and done all the charming, the love bombing, everything. And then very quickly I was under his spell and become very trauma bonded.
You say trauma bonded. What trauma did you suffer from before this then?
The trauma bond came from within the relationship. So
Okay.
a trauma bond is a trauma coerced attachment, which is formed from the push and pull of these highly toxic and abusive relationships where they pull you in and then they spit you back out. So you're then going through a cycle of being idolised, devalued, discarded, and then back round. And so what happens with the brain is with all the chemicals, you're getting all these high dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin hits, and then huge crashes of cortisol. And then you become so used to that. And so then you're constantly chasing to get back that high, to get that person to love you again. So that's where that trauma bond is created.
Okay. What attracted you to him?
So now I've done my own trauma work. I'm dyslexic, and throughout my whole life, I was never good enough. I was constantly failing in school. I was being humiliated in class. It was always, you haven't done very well. So I never felt good enough. I was always expected to kind of be last. The only thing I was good at was sport. But the first time in my life, a person had made me feel enough, had made me feel seen. And that's a feeling I'd never felt before. So that was it. That was I got you.
When you were at school, you know, was it done very, I'd say, in the world of school, was it done quite publicly how your performance was being announced?
Yes. When I was back at school, I don't think, I never even heard of the word dyslexia. In English, it was everyone read a paragraph, and I remember it coming to me and I was sweating and I was trying to skip to the part of which I was going to read, and I couldn't see the words properly. And so when I would sound like a 4-year-old, or I would panic more so it would make it worse because I was under pressure. And then it was, what's wrong with you? Stand up, Emma, speak properly.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's humiliating. And
how old are you?
What, during that time?
No, now, if you don't mind
Oh,
asking.
36,
Okay.
nearly 37, unfortunately.
No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting older. I'm 50 this year, so, you know, trust me, it's all right. We all stay young at heart.
We do.
But so, like I say, so coming out of school, you know, you're coming out with quite a low level of self-esteem.
Massively, yeah. Yeah.
What did your parents say about this when it comes to the school?
Well, at parents' evening, it's always the same. She could have done better. She doesn't concentrate. I was more interested in playtime or sport. Sport was great. I always got really good marks in sport, but everything else. And I could see the disappointment on especially my dad's face, because I think he wanted me to be academic and go on to university and, you know, kind of follow his footsteps. But I was just not that way.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes.
And how was their performance?
Well, I've currently got a baby sister There's 15 years difference between me and her. She's currently in Bath University in the UK. So she did what my dad wanted her to do, even though I'm actually doing a master's at the moment. So yes, it wasn't for me then, but I've managed to kind of do that now in an area that I understand very well. So I think with dyslexic people, if we're not interested in that subject, there's no point trying to teach us it because it's not going to go in. We don't care.
I think that I've had a number of teachers on the podcast, and there is a lot of debate, I think is the right word, around what should and shouldn't be taught at the moment in the curriculum to children when it comes to that one point, which is stop trying to teach kids things they're not interested in and look at what they are becoming passionate about and what they're good at and lean into that and develop ways that they can improve on that. Because like you say, school is tough, you know, and it's probably tougher now. I mean, and probably tougher when you were there than it was when I was there for the same sort of things, which is, you know, I suppose exposure, humiliation, success, being stupid, being dumb, being popular. And I think probably with, you know, the current state of mobile phones and social media in school, it's probably 10 times worse than when I was there.
Yeah, well, we didn't really have that either. Yeah. Social media weren't around, thank God.
It's definitely had I think it's had a terrible impact on kids, especially in school. I suppose though, you know, you've met the guy and then, like you say, you've started to feel really valued. How quickly did things escalate into the love bombing and the sense of, I wouldn't say control, but the sense of this is the one? Do you know what I mean?
Well, he told me he loved me within the first week, and he said that I was going to be his wife within the first month.
How did that make you feel?
Elated, very, very happy, because I thought I'd found a person that saw me, loved me, was so kind, so generous. I had fallen for somebody that doesn't exist. I fell for an illusion, a ghost, the person he sold himself to be. That's why I say this is a scam. You know, they are scamming you at the beginning because you are falling in love with someone that's not there. And that's why it's so hard to break away from this, because the person that you fell in love with never existed. Yeah. And so you mourn someone that they created. So it's like someone had died.
How did the controlling measures start to manifest?
The first, what I can remember is when he was looking on my social media, and I wasn't massive on social media. This is 10 years ago when Facebook was kind of the biggest platform at the time. And it's the time when you kind of added people from school, and he commented on how many men I had on Facebook. It was just people from school. It was people I knew. I wasn't trying to like recruit people.
Recruit. You know what I mean? Well, that was the early days of Facebook, wasn't it? You suddenly like opened up your account and then started tapping in, what was that person's name at primary school? And then you find everyone. It was really good. It was really, really good in the beginning. But yeah, you're right. You're not recruiting people.
But he said, well, do you speak to them? And this is how these people are very clever. They ask you lots and lots of questions. Do you speak to them? No, not really. It's just, well, why do you need them on there then? Well, then I don't. Well, get rid of them then. If you don't need them, what's the point of having them? So that it's very cleverly done. Yeah. So they kind of take you on a road where you feel that stupid for having all these people on Facebook. So, yeah, I'll get rid of them. And also, where there was such an age gap, he used to say things like, you've got to grow up. You know, you've got to get in the real world. And so he made me feel very embarrassed and still childlike that I needed to grow up quickly because this is what an adult is saying. Even though I was 26 at the time, but because he was a lot older, he did have that very authoritative way about him and made me feel inferior. So I had to change things about myself to get his approval?
My ex-wife is 11 years younger than me. My current partner is 19 years younger than me, right? And one thing I know from experience is that you have to understand, on both parts, you have to understand who and what you're getting involved in and with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, a younger partner, male or female, is living in a world that you used to live in. You know, like mentally, they want to go out, they want to express themselves, they want to have fun, they want to go clubbing, and you don't, because you have done that, you know, and you have now become older and less amazed by stuff and everything like this. So you have to be able to have that level of trust and that level of understanding that otherwise don't do it. Do you know what I mean? Don't have a much younger partner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it is something that in the world of man, you know, which we have many mass insecurities and failings on, you know, you kind of see superstars and actors and they've got much younger partners, and some people treat it like a trophy and everything like that. But you also have to have a great level of understanding about, you can't just say, grow up, live in the real world, because that's where they are compared to where you are, you know? And yeah.
But you're thinking of a logical relationship and an equal relationship where there's feelings involved. When someone is coercive and controlling, it's not about that. It's about them having full control and moulding you into the person they want you to be.
So I completely agree. Like, it's like a lot of my angles is I want men to understand the dangers of who they can be. Do you know what I mean? And again, I have personal family members that have been on the receiving end of stuff like this. And I think that, you know, I suppose my next logical question would be, as the relationship started and you felt elated and everything like that, and now the controlling has started, at what point did you start to think there's something wrong here? Do you know what I mean? Like, was there a moment of real change, or was it slow and slow? Because it got really bad, didn't it? I mean...
Yeah, it did get really bad. Well, he was currently engaged to somebody else, which I didn't know until a bit further down the line. And then it was the pity party for him. Like, you know, the relationship hasn't been right for 2 years, and where you start to feel sorry for them. And then that relationship broke down anyway. And I was his next victim, because with these types of people, they do, when they get bored of one victim, they look for another to replace. It's very, very unlikely that they will leave someone and then go and find someone new. They constantly need to have supply. So it's, I'll find someone while you're still there, because you're giving me whatever I need at the moment. But once I find a new toy, you're discarded. And that's exactly what happened. And now, knowing his past relationship history, that has been like it throughout since he was 17. So that shocked me. But he wanted to be with me all of the time. So even if we weren't in person, we'd be on the phone. You know, it's FaceTime, and you're just bombarded all the time. You're never actually alone. And first of all, you think this is amazing, but now it's intoxicating, because that's not normal. But then I found out that he was an alcoholic as well, a very high functioning one. But when he would be highly intoxicated, that's when the black eyes, the pure psychopath used to come out, where I would get physically hurt. And the name calling, the vileness, like the true darkness of that person came out. And I'd never really met an alcoholic before, so I didn't know. But not saying that alcoholics are narcissists, because not all alcoholics are narcissists. But when you do have a narcissist, especially a malignant narcissist like he is, that drinks, when he drinks, the pure evil comes out. They can't mask it anymore. And so my life became trying to get him sober because that was his excuse. And they always have a pity party of what's happened to them in life and, you know, poor me. And because they target empaths, you then forget all about what's happened to you. And now it's back on them and it's, oh, poor you, I'll look after you, I'll fix you. And then again, that's in the cycle. So it's just every time you go around a cycle, you just lose yourself a bit more. And every time you go back, it's basically saying you can abuse me a bit more as well, because the abuse will just get worse. It will never get better.
You know, alcohol is, from someone, as I said, someone that's done nightlife, alcohol is the worst.
Yeah.
Alcohol, and the thing that I think we all globally don't get about alcohol is that because it's legal, you think it's okay.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, it's advertised to be good for you, you know, which I've been a big part of because I've run businesses that have made loads of money off of mass consumption of alcohol. But when you've done stuff where you see people that have taken other substances, you know, which are illegal, so everyone thinks bad, alcohol is the worst one. It seems to amplify someone's personality, where in the beginning it's all funny. And then after, you know, one or two drinks, oh, ha, 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 you know, everyone's quite jovial and you feel, you know, good. 6 or 7 in, this is where the slightest thing sets people off. And if you are controlling, narcissist, psychopathic, all that's going to do is bring that out. I've said it time and time again. It doesn't matter who you are. Alcohol does the same thing to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a nice person, you start off nice, but then people will have their meltdowns. They'll have a bad reaction to something. Arguments break out. But if you're, like you say, controlling, narcissist, psychopath, alcohol is incredibly dangerous to that.
Yeah. And it's the drug that you can die coming off of.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, wow. I mean, so I suppose, what were some of the worst things that took place?
He used to spit at me a lot. So, you know, abuse victims, I think sometimes the perception of you're only a domestic abuse victim is if you're black and blue. That's generally not the case. He used to like to spit at me because obviously there's no marks and you can say, well, it's not as if I punched you, is it? Get over it. So, and I just think that is the most degrading thing you can do to somebody. He would, I would say, because it's all horrendous, because as part of coercive control, you've got isolation. So he isolated me from family and friends. He put cameras in pretty much every room of the house. I had a tracker on my car. I had a tracker on my phone. But I wasn't actually allowed to do anything. So I would possibly go to Sainsbury's on my own. That's the extent. So why I'd need a tracker for that, I don't know. But so there was the isolation point. Wasn't allowed social media. So it got to that point from deleting friends or old friends to it's easier just not to have Facebook, to just stop the rows, stop the accusations. And that's it. It's the breaking down of you slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. They don't punch you on the first date. They introduce themselves as a very kind, loving person. And then 6 months, a year down the line, you don't represent anyone like you used to be. You don't hang out with your friends. You don't do the things you want to do. I ended up working for him because he wanted me to be there all the time. And it's like, well, why don't you just work for me? Even to the, oh, I'll get you a phone. I'll get you a new car. It's just control. But it's done in such a covert, nice way, where it's like it's doing you a favour and this person's really loving me. But no, in the back of in their mind, it's how do I get full control over this person so they've got nowhere to go. And this is why it's so hard to leave these types of relationships, because not only have they broken you down, your confidence, they've isolated you, they've also got financial control over you. And they've done it very cleverly and slowly, where you don't actually know it's happened. because it doesn't look abusive 100% of the time. You know, they're not screaming, shouting at you. You do have nice days. You do have good days. They are kind to you sometimes. They might buy you a nice gift. But those smaller days get less and less, and you'll see Mr. Hyde a lot more. But then by that point, you are falling into trying to be better, trying to be the person that they want you to be, just so you have a nice day or an okay day, or a day where you don't get abused or put down or spat at or head smashed against the kitchen, things like that. So every holiday was ruined by him. He abused me terribly on holidays are the worst. Christmases, birthdays, any like lovely time, as in like an anniversary, it will be ruined by them, because you have these high hopes of, we're going on holiday, it's going to be lovely, birthdays. No, they want to destroy it for you. But then they'll twist it and make out it's all your fault.
Fucking hell, man.
So it got me to the point of, and he was very calculated. So he would, instead of shouting at me, he would talk to me like this, but the words would be so vile.
Mm-hmm.
That would be for hours, like literally mental torture. And I couldn't get up and go away, because then it would be worse. So I'd have to sit here and endure hours and hours of abuse, of how disgusting I am, how pathetic I am, how no one likes me, how my family don't like me. And it got that bad that the crying and the begging wasn't enough. So I remember the first time there was a glass and I smashed it on the floor just to kind of like shock him. But I had totally dissociated by that point. Like it's like, well, coercive control is to break you, and he was breaking me. I picked up a shard of glass and I started slicing my body open to draw blood. And I don't know at the time whether it was to feel pain on the outside as opposed to internally, or to shock him enough to, this is what you're doing to me. And it did shock him. And he was like, what are you doing? You utter psychopath. What is wrong with you?
Oh, wow. So instantly again, you turned it against you.
And then he stopped. He stopped in that moment, as in like he stopped abusing me. So then when it would get really bad, I used to cut myself. I never cut myself on my own, because some people hide away and do it. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was a form of protection, that I'd found a coping mechanism to get him to stop me, and the only way was for me to draw blood.
How many times did that happen?
Quite a few times.
And did he stop every time?
Yeah.
Do you think that it became part of his enjoyment? Like part of the we've got to this point now. Now I'm getting her to do this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it sounds like, because obviously we for context, we've had a Zoom call, and I make a point of never overly researching guests, so I get to sort of discover them as audience does. But yeah, man, like this guy, what the hell? I mean, first of all, sorry, but spitting, is the like, we all know it. It's the worst. It's not like it's debatable. Like, you see it in so many sides of life, where the minute one person spits at another, we all have the same reaction. You're like, it's disgusting. It's incredibly degrading. The person you're going to do it to, you know that if you're going to do that, there is a mass amount of degradement. So 100% is fucking awful. But again, do like you say, with the cutting, do you think it became part of his, I don't know how to word it, like, not
achievement?
Like, enjoyment, achievement. Do you think he was like, getting off on it? It was all part and parcel of his own internal gratification. I don't know, like.
Well, I remember him the first time I done that. He said, "Oh, my ex done that once." So now, okay, so you've done it to someone else to the point where they cut themselves. But yeah, so I think it became, even though he didn't want me to carry on cutting myself to the point, I might get blood everywhere. But also that that's visible then, so people can see that.
Oh, okay.
And obviously I carry the scars now. But the abuse escalated so much to attempted suicides, where I was done. I couldn't carry on anymore.
And was that in the house?
Yeah. One was in the house. I had a full mental breakdown after being away for Christmas and New Year in Maldives. I was abused terribly. He started drinking at the airport, and I always knew that's it. The next 2 weeks, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So he abused me in front of loads of guests, and he smashed up the beautiful hotel rooms. He used to like to do that, smash up hotel rooms. But this got to a point where he was actually arrested and taken back to the mainland, Mali, and then continued to abuse me. He went to another island, slept with another woman. I don't know how this man does it. Then brought me to the new island, paraded me round as if like he'd just kind of flown me in. And then when I got back to the UK 2 weeks later, I found out that another secret phone, just lies upon lies. Like you feel like that you're going crazy. Because they look at you and say, I never did that. Like they are so convincing that when you find the truth, you're like, am I going mad? Because you've just said this to me and that, and you've looked into my eyes and said, you know, that's completely untrue, and yet I've got it here. And I just had a full-on breakdown, and then, yeah, I attempted suicide and pills and everything, cutting, and my cleaner found me, and he weren't bothered. It's like, oh, this is just an attention thing.
When you were being isolated from your friends and family, were they trying to highlight what you had become, or how, you know, or did they try to, you know, say, Emma, you know, like there's something wrong here, you know, and you kept sort of, were you living in denial, I suppose, in certain ways with the friends, or was it just easier to cut them all out because?
Well, he made it very difficult for me to see friends, because it would be, oh, my friends invited me for coffee. Well, what do you want to do that for? You've got things to do. When are you going to do that then? And so you become so fearful of even saying to them, oh, Amy's asked me, invited me for a coffee, that you can feel it in your body. It's like all this fear that you wait to the last minute and they say, oh, Amy's invited me for coffee. Well, that's a bit short notice, isn't it? Well, you can't go, can you? Because you've got this to do, that to do. And then, so you then start to say to your friend, I can't, you make excuses. And then that's how relationships fall down as well, because then they stop asking you. I'd say my parents used to say it to me, but as a victim of domestic abuse, you never actually want to admit to anybody that you are being abused, because you're trying so hard to convince yourself, let alone anyone else, that you are going through abuse. And that's the first stage of recovery, is actually the realisation stage of admitting it to yourself. Because once you've admitted it to yourself, you can't unsee things. Yeah. Because people can stay in denial forever. Yeah. And that's where they like to be. I've spoken to people and they say, I don't want to get to that realisation stage because I know I've got to do something about it, and I can't, and I don't want to. I'm not strong enough.
I've had a previous guest say that. That it's this, it's not that bad. Do you know what I mean? And that actually the thought of, it's like a desire for it to end and to get out. Yeah. But then how do I? It looks impossible. Yeah. So then there's a justification of like, yeah, well, you know, everyone goes through, but you know, like these really obvious yet unusual self-justification that takes place. It's
but then you've got to think about the post-separation abuse. So this is where people that say, we'll just leave, they never think about that stage of it.
This is what I wanted to quickly come to, which is, so what was the moment where you actually got out? You know, like, you're now on the other side, like walking away, driving away, or whatever. It's like, what was that day that you were like, I've had enough of, like, this is it now, this is time?
Well, luckily I had a friend in Australia that threw me a massive lifeline that has saved my life, because she said to me, why don't you just come to Australia for a month? Just give yourself a break. I was due to go to Vegas with him. This was literally like 8 weeks after Maldives. And I think if I'd gone to Vegas with him, I would have never come back. I would have come back in a box. He'd have killed me out there psychologically, to the point I'd have just ended it, because it was getting to that point. And so when I went out there for a month, my head was all over the place. I was so ill. I lost so much weight. But when I come back, they draw you back in. He made some big song and dance. By the time I got back, he had manipulated everybody at the gym and everyone around the area that I was the perpetrator. I was this awful person. So everyone had completely turned on me. When I was at the gym, he tried to walk out in front of my car, and he went back into the gym and it was like, she's just tried to run me over. And so everyone was like, oh my God, she's awful. I then got arrested for attempted ABH. I was put in a cell for, I think, 4 or 5 hours, counting the ceiling tiles, as you do. I had like the full 24 hours in police custody experience. But then they want to watch the CCTV, realised that I actually swerved him. He tried to intimidate me. They let me out. But it was all of that, to the point it pushed me again, because of all the other abuse I was getting from everybody else, that I attempted suicide again. Mm-hmm. I tried to hang myself because I was done. I woke up in the morning. I'd gone to a friend's house. She wasn't there. And it was one of those really grey days. And it's like where you can't see tomorrow. You don't have energy anymore. You're done fighting. I felt beaten. And I had no money. He had everything. So I had to walk away from nothing. The only 2 things I had was my engagement ring and a watch that he bought me. Everything was bought after abuse. So the watch was bought for me when I was in Dubai, after he put an iron in my face at the Atlantis. So I bought this £40,000 watch, sold that, and then I had this engagement ring that was, he paid, I think, about £80,000 for it. But I didn't get a lot of money. Like the watch, I got $6.5 grand. The ring, I got 18. Mm-hmm. And where I'd spent so long trying to get him sober, I spent a lot of time in AA meetings, rehabs, and I really was so intrigued by people's stories behind the alcohol, like the trauma. And that's where my dyslexia patterns, like working out patterns and understanding things, that's where I found that I understood things. And I went back to Australia. That saved my life. I went to university in Australia and I qualified as a counsellor out there, and that was the pinnacle moment of my recovery. Start anyway.
And how was his reaction to you getting out?
Post-separation abuse then kicked in. Stalking, harassment, trying to absolutely destroy me in every way possible. So the fact that I had walked away from him and he didn't have a backup either, he wasn't ready to discard me because he hadn't found a replacement yet. So I was the first woman that had ever walked away from him. He hadn't discarded me. So yeah, the post-separation abuse of just trying to absolutely destroy me in every way possible then kicked in. And again, just trying to destroy you. Wow. He hated the fact that I was making a career for myself out of the trauma of what he'd done to me.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine how that would.
Oh, he hates it. And I mean, he tried everything. He sent indecent pictures of me to my parents. He tried to destroy that relationship, which would never have happened. But they just become they don't want you to have anyone. So. I came back to the UK because of COVID. I had to come back from Australia, and that's when I formed my trauma therapies, my own counselling practice. I saw a massive gap in the market because I went to 2 counsellors when I was going through this, and one never highlighted that I was going through domestic abuse, and the other one, that was a couples counsellor, told me I needed to trust him, and that I need to, this happens.
Through your studies and your becoming a counsellor and what you've done with Minara and everything like this, and what you've just said about those 2 examples, like, what have you learned about the so-called counsellors and stuff like this? That, because that's a massive misdiagnosis. Do you know what I mean? That is very poor advice, especially the second one. Why do you think they gave that advice? What are the gaps that they're missing?
I don't think people understand the extent of what coercive control is, and say gaslighting. People still have this misconception that gaslighting is lying. It's not. It's lying with then making you out to be you're crazy. So they don't understand what this is and what it looks like. Maybe because you're not walking in with a black eye, that you're not going through domestic abuse. I've had clients say to me, even their own doctor has said, well, you're not going through domestic abuse because it's not violence. That's a doctor.
Yeah,
So
but it's wrong, because abuse is psychological, physical, financial, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sexual.
And I just find that in this, like, as cliched as a statement is in this day and age, that it has to be considered as, visually physical. Like you said, you've got no marks on you, so it's not. But
yeah,
but but people, like you said, this particular guy in questions, they're all very clever. So he'll spit at you because it's proof, isn't it? It's like you don't suddenly walk in. My direct family member was physically abused and walked, that was a long time ago, but walked into a pub where all the friends were and was like, this is what's going on, it's quite, I mean, the thing with, I think one of the things I think about, or springs to mind, is that when you say gaslighting, there are so many terms and, with all respect in the world, buzzwords like narcissist, where it's like, just because somebody is an arrogant prick doesn't mean they're a narcissist. Do you know what I mean? And I think that, it's it's how can somebody spot it through all the noise? Do you know what I mean? It's that people are being told or maybe given that title without the proper justification, and some people are overlooked. So because I think what you've said that's incredibly resonating with me is that the level that you went through is why you are the expert. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, what are the best ways for women or men to spot early signs here?
I would say if someone is presenting themselves as someone very kind, loving, generous, they're your soulmate, and then after time, you stop seeing that person as much, or you're trying harder to please or trying to get that person back that you first met, and you're starting to lose yourself in the process. That's the biggest red flag. You should never start to feel fearful of the person that you're being around.
100%, yeah.
So if you start to feel walking on eggshells or stop doing something, more so look at yourself and how you're feeling, how your body is feeling around this person. If it's not feeling safe, red flag. Why are you not feeling safe with this person? You should feel able to be your authentic self around without fear, because coercive control is built on fear, intimidation and threats. And if you start feeling those, then you're in an abusive relationship. And that can be in anything to me. It doesn't necessarily have to be an intimate relationship. It can be family, it can be friends, could be someone at work. If you're starting to feel those things, then that person is having a huge negative impact on your mental and physical health. And that has to be looked into.
Yeah, I think it's sort of mood management. If you're now trying to manage somebody else's mood with your behaviour, like you say, it's.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, if I say that, that's going to happen again. They'll kick off again, And
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I sort of think about is how it can all start. There are so many sort of cliches when it comes to starting relationships with people. The honeymoon period. Do you know what I mean? Everyone argues. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna, and it's trying to be able to maybe work out the difference between what is, I don't know, this is a massively generalistic statement, but the honeymoon period, and then what is actually a red flag, Because like you say, it starts slowly and it twists, and before you know it, the first time there's maybe something physical, the person begs for forgiveness the following day. I'll never do it again. I was drinking. I'm sorry, this and that. And like you said, the pity party sort of comes out, and then due to the history, you give them one more chance, and then and before you know it,
Yeah.
Do you think that there should be a lot more analysis done by people with the honeymoon period?
Yeah, I mean, the honeymoon period is always going to be incredible because in that stage, you're still, I don't think, being your authentic self, as in like you're not showing your bad days, you're not showing your bad moods. We all have bad days, but we own it. We can look at ourselves and think, do you know what? I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I have had a bad day at work. And it's a one-off. With these things, it's patterns of abuse. So it's consistent. You'll be seeing it a lot. But yeah, I mean, the honeymoon period is great, but it will start to fizzle out. But you're not then going to start changing yourself to get that person back. You grow together. And there's not going to be fear. You can have an argument with your partner and not be filled with fear, not be terrified of what's going to happen. Are they going to stop talking to me for 3 days, or are they going to take things away from me? How are they going to punish me? It's just an argument, and then you get over it. It's very, very different. The dynamics are very different from a healthy relationship to an abusive relationship.
Oh, sorry. Do you think... So I'm a big fan of root cause. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, do you think that enough is done with children to try to make people more aware of tendencies that could develop? No.
If we look at what's taught in schools, where are we taught about healthy relationships? And predominantly the people that I see, we've all had some form of unhealthy or abusive relationship in adolescence. Not necessarily, I'm not saying a intimate relationship. It could be within a friendship group, like the mean girl, the bad boy, the group leader, bullying. We experience something at that age where we've got nothing to compare it to. This is normal. And especially if you've come from a high conflict or abusive family, then this is normal. And a lot of people that I see as clients, their first unhealthy or abusive relationship started in adolescence, and then they've gone on to having another abusive relationship, another one, and an abusive marriage, because they see this as normal. And when you start to see abuse as normality,
it's normal.
Yeah. Then you don't see the red flags. You don't see the danger in it, Because a lot of people that come out of these relationships, including myself at one point, we say normal relationships are boring because you're so used to the highs and the lows and what you've got to do to get that person's love and approval and the excitement because of all the dopamine and oxytocin levels, that when you meet someone normal, you don't get huge hits like that. In the honeymoon period, you don't get huge hits like you do in the love bombing, because the love bombing is so intense. It's like you've just done a whole load of drugs.
Yeah.
And so people don't want a normal relationship because they want the high. It has become an addiction for them. So that's where the person that has to look at themselves and work on recovery from themselves and to go through this stage of finding their true identity again, because you're not the same person as you were when you went in it than you do when you come out.
How have your relationships been post getting out of this one, you know?
So for the first year, I didn't date, wasn't intimate with anyone. I hated men.
Can imagine.
For a long time.
Rightfully so I have to say. I mean,
when I started dating again, I did see one red flag and I was out. And I was called harsh, I was called cold, but I just wasn't going to tolerate it anymore because I'd done so much work on myself. And I think when you are going through recovery, you cannot go dating, you cannot be intimate, you have to go cold turkey as you would in recovery with drugs and alcohol. I say to people, if you was an alcoholic and you were still drinking, would you be in recovery? No, you wouldn't. No. So how are you going to get better? And that's the same with this. You have to go cold turkey with the abuser. I know it's a little bit different if you have to co-parent, but that's a different method that you go through. But if you don't have to have anything to do with that person, literally you've got to go off the face of the earth. It's recovery time. It's rehab for you. Because your system has to go back to the normal chemical imbalances. You've got to work on your self-esteem, your identity, who you want to be. And if you do it properly, you will never, ever get into another narcissistic or toxic relationship again, because you will love yourself so much and you'll enjoy the peace that you'll think, no way. And that's what I did. And then I met a very lovely man, and we've been together 3.5 years.
Fantastic.
And it's equal. And I always say, if you're happy in yourself, someone can only add to your happiness. Do not let someone be your happiness, because as soon as someone is your happiness, they have control over you.
Yeah. But it's tough. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard because I think in relationships, people look for someone to complete them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? To fill in the gaps. But if that happens, you know, then like you've just said, you know, you suddenly develop what am I without this person?
Yeah.
And in the hands of the wrong individual, that's a very dangerous area to be in.
I always say to women and men, always be financially stable yourself. Don't let anyone allow them to take anything away from you. You know, this whole Andrew Tate perception of a man's this, a man's got to be a provider, blah, blah, blah. No, a woman can do it herself. If you want a relationship, then have the relationship side. If you do want someone that's going to give you a lifestyle, money, and be prepared to be owned by that person, because they will see you as that. Now, I'm not saying every relationship that's like that is abusive, but just think, if that person decided, actually, I don't want to be with you anymore, what have you got? And I learnt the hard way.
Yeah.
I didn't intentionally do it, but he done it very cleverly. He took everything away from me, my independence, everything. And don't see it as love. Because someone that loves you will never want you to give up work or never
No,
want
exactly.
you to give up something
They'll
you want.
support you, you know.
Yeah. So you can be your own person as well as being in a relationship. You don't have to give things up.
I think the problem with Andrew Tate, is that it's one of these characters that has been created, you know, big social media presence and persona, says a load of things that on some aspects, you know, like the statement where men should run into the burning building. Do you know what I mean? Men should be the ones that fight the wars. This I agree with. Do you know what I mean? It's like you should, because you are bigger in stature, you are built stronger, you know, you're pumped full of testosterone or whatever. There's the protective element, which should be in place on a kind of, I don't know, like on a gender scale. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, if you're on a ship and it's sinking, it is women and children first. It's not we're all equal. Do you know what I mean? I'm on the boat. You know, I do subscribe to that. The problem is that then what's been massaged into this is like you just said, which is that women are possessions and that I've got a Lamborghini and look at all these women behind. There was another guy, what was his name? Dan Balzerian, I think his name was, where all it was him on a jet ski on a yacht surrounded by women in bikinis. And apparently that means success, which it doesn't. And when you look at a landscape now with social media, being online, dating, how people meet. I mean, there's bizarre statistics in dating apps, which I think I've had a guy on here runs a big dating agency here, and he won't use. There's no app involved. He's trying to do the old school thing: come meet each other, you know, because people will open up a dating app because historically the stereotype is that women want tall men. So when they can filter, you know, they'll go height, 6 foot plus. Yeah. And I think it's in America, you've just wiped out 60% of the male population on dating apps. And so men are getting more and more, I suppose, squeezed. And if you do that to men, they can react really, really badly. And I think when you have someone like Andrew Tate that sounds like on some levels what he's trying to do is get men to be men again, you know, what's being really overlooked is that in the eyes of teenage boys, he's trying to tell you that women are possessions. And I think that coupled with, and I do want to, we're running out of time, but I do want to raise this because it's when we spoke about the AI girlfriend thing. Yeah. What you said to me about that, I'm truly shocking. You know, and for those people watching or listening that might not know, there's the AI girlfriend thing where it's telling you, I'll do what you want, I'll be your fantasy, this, that, and everything else. But then it says you can even put a photo of a coworker in, you know, and then you said
that you can do whatever you like to them. You can hit them, you can rape them, you can abuse them, you can do whatever you want.
And so you correlate something like that into some of the narratives from the people like Andrew Tate and beyond, I ask myself, what the fuck? Like genuinely, and I don't mind swearing, like I don't care, like take it down, whatever, but what the fuck? Like what are we actually saying to young boys? When you're 50, you look back and you just go, I say right now, what the fuck? When you're 15, it's like, everyone's taking pictures of everything and everyone and this, so you're going to, take your, you know, school friends and put their face onto it and then fall in love with that. Because it's talking to you how you want to be spoken. I mean, it's so freaking dangerous.
I've had clients that their partner is part of Andrew Tate's university, and the way these women are treated is horrendous.
Yeah,
sitting on they're not allowed to sit on the sofa; they have to sit on the floor.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, because that's what Andrew tells them.
But what the? And like I say, then you're having this fantasical relationship with your AI girlfriend that looks like someone you're at school with or you work with. And then you actually feel the courage to go and say something and then you get rejected. And men do not take rejection well. I mean, another thing you said to me before we started recording, which was men's biggest fear is being laughed at by women, and women's biggest fear is they'll be killed by a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still really speechless about that, because when you look at, like we said, the Andrew Tate thing, the AI girl thing, you get rejected. Now you start abusing the AI girlfriend that looks like the person that you've actually rejected. And you're listening to Andrew Tate telling you that women are belongings and you can do what you want to them as long as you've got a Lamborghini, but you're only 18 years old and you've got no fucking idea about the world. Before you know it, you go and act on your deranged fantasies. Now, I mean, what the fuck? Sorry, but...
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also the image that Andrew displays as well. You know, the money, the cars, the lifestyle. Again, it's that scam. You can have this if you do this. But that's not a reality for thousands, not millions of people.
But
he's a market genius.
It's another, do you know what it is? It's another online quote unquote guru. That here's the problem with people like this. And this actually goes across a lot of content creation, is that you have to continually create content.
Yeah.
You can't put a series of things out and say, that's it. That's actually my opinion. There's 10 episodes and that's it. I'll never do another thing again. You have to continually be reaffirming it, because you need your views and you need your whatever. And you may start from an honest place, but eventually you have to keep the train going and you need to get the views. So you get more and more outrageous and you start to say more and more shit, and you're triggering more and more. So then you go on Piers Morgan and you start swearing, and then everyone watches it. And we live in a world where it's all chopped up and given interesting trailers and sound bites. It's, I don't know. Exactly. Sorry, I've got a real rant about this.
Yeah, it's true.
But it just makes me think, where does it all end up? Because in 40 years, okay, I'm 50 this year, but, you know, let's say 40 of those years, you're kind of sentient and aware of the world. It's always been there, you know? It's
how extreme people are getting to still stay relevant. You know, Bonnie Blue. Okay, she's done 1,000 men in 24 hours. Where do you go from that? In the 2,000? So it's, as you say, the more and more extreme people are going to stay relevant. Now, whether some people believe in what they say, who knows? But I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's a business. They are doing it for views, which equals money. Money equals power. And that's why they are doing it. And it's because people keep giving them a platform.
Yeah.
And if you take that platform away, then they will become irrelevant. And that's what they're fearful of. So they have to keep going and becoming more extreme.
Well, it's begun in Australia, isn't it? They've banned social media for under 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really good idea, you know, to see what the results of that would be. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've because coercive control has become a law in some states over there, I do some workshops with teenagers to highlight what healthy relationships as opposed to a non-healthy relationship would look like. And it's really interesting because, you know, I am now seeing myself as old because these teenagers are saying, yeah, but you don't understand our generation. It's like, wow, I am old.
You're not. Trust me. I'm getting old, you're not.
But it's even like the location thing. You know, people, they all know where each other is. And if you're with someone, they're entitled to know your login details to social media. So they can have full access to everything. That's deemed as normal. Mm. So we are normalising, here's everything of me. I have no privacy. Mm. So it's even that of the coercion there of being a teenager of this is how you need to be. So then that becomes normal. So when that teenager goes into adulthood and the boyfriend says, I want your social media details, here you go, because that's normal. If someone said that to me, what do you want them for? Mm. Like, that's control. And a relationship's built on trust. But youngsters are seeing all of this stuff, all of this coercion as normal. So we're going to have a serious problem.
Yeah, because I think that it's all massively being amplified. So jealousy, envy, fear, insecurity. You know, it's this thing where, again, I'll come back to dating apps. It's like people used to meet people by going down the pub, the bar, the club, you know, the social place. You met the boy or the girl and you started seeing each other, et cetera, et cetera. Then maybe you start living together, right? And then you might have a row. Do you know what I mean? But you go to bed. But what you can't do, look, you can have the argument in your head with them. You can tell yourself you're doing all these things, but you don't get out of bed and go back down to the social environment to see what's what, because you might want to get out. But now you can lean over, pick up your phone, and just start scrolling through apps that will tell you who is a good fit for you, who is a great. And these apps are only showing you someone's best self. And suddenly you're in a, you know, you're pissed off with your partner, and suddenly you see someone or something. Yeah. This didn't exist back in, as we say, the pre-social media days. So I wonder how insecure kids actually are when it comes to trust with who people are looking at and who people are, you know, because it's almost like the emotions are still the same, the envy, the jealousy, the fear, the insecurity, but now the ability to look at other people is, well, it's a completely different scale than it was in the 90s, you know, something like that.
Yeah. So what's true happiness?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you might think, oh, this is going to be a bit boring or a bit tough, or I'll swipe and see what else is out there instead of working on something. Exactly. Yeah. Everything's so much more accessible.
I've never been so glad to be 50. Look, we've come to the end, and I wanted to say, first of all, you know, it's been a pleasure, and I really, really respect your openness, your honesty to share. It's, you know, I don't think I've ever sat across from a guest where I've got such a lack of understanding about what that person has been through, you know. And I suppose, and I've never said this before, I hope I did you justice in the podcast, and I'm very grateful that you shared what you shared, because, again, I genuinely hope that anybody that watches this might be able to use some of it to spot an early sign, realise that what's happening to them is not what they think is happening to them given societal norms. It's actually a lot worse, you know what I mean? And can hopefully, you know, male or female, see the red flags and get out of it. But with all Tasty Humans guests, I always say, you know, if there is one thing you wanted to sort of summarize into one statement for anybody that about your life and your experiences and about what you're doing, you know, what would that be?
Well, just to give a bit of hope to people that if I can come back from this, then so can you. Because I did nearly end my life, and I did think that I was alone. And just to let people know that you're not alone, that there is help out there, and there is life after abuse.
Emma, it's been really, really good, and I'll make sure everyone knows how to contact you and get hold of you when we release the episode and everything. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.